Your defense is terrified. Beth means on fire. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Woso Show Euros final episode. I'm Ali.
I'm Sarah.
And we're here to talk about all things Euros. Though Sarah's got a very quick announcement. No.
We're here to talk about one thing, the Euros. Yeah, isn't it weirdly, like, I don't mean to announce it. I'm just going to say, like, I am very excited. I do not sound excited because, unfortunately, I didn't get to be at the final as planned. I had to come home for some sad family news. So I don't know how much to share. My grandma passed away, which is sad, and I'm not trying to bring everybody down. But we didn't want to be fake about anything.
Exactly.
And, like, feign my voice sounding excited when my voice isn't going to sound excited, but I hope everybody can know, based on my love of everything soccer, that I am so pumped about this game. And watching it yesterday was literally the highlight of the past 3 days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And our hearts and love are with you, my friend.
Well, thank you. But we are here to talk about Euros final. I am very excited to talk about the Euros final. I was in London. We were all together. We didn't totally get to dive fully into, like, stories on the last one because the last episode was our live audience performance. But we had a blast all meeting each other. Hung out quite a bit. I fell in love with Greg's. Greg's is my favorite thing. I don't remember falling in love with a thing like I've fallen in love with Greg's in a very long time. I love Greg's.
We basically took Sarah on a culinary around London tour, and including a cheeky Nando's, because there's nothing more British than a cheeky Nando's, which is actually South African. But just very quickly, why we were all together, apart from the football, was we were invited, and you will have heard on our live episode, to the Women in Football Equality Conference, and we had such a blast doing that. Just the whole experience was so much fun.
Shout out to Equal Playing Field Initiative for putting that on. They are trying to host one in Australia for 2023, which is just next year. So everybody take a look into it. It's an incredible 2 days of women in football talking about football. And that's kind of as good as it gets, right? Anyways, we are not here to recap our last episode. We're here to talk the very special moment that was yesterday, but it really wasn't yesterday. We're talking about the culmination of this entire tournament is really what we're talking about, and the impact. And we're going to talk about the game from both sides, and we're going to talk, obviously, about just the impact that this tournament has had and the meaning behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. As someone it was a home nation tournament, the impact is hopefully going to be huge. You feel like that the want and the need is palpable, and people are crying out for this to continue. So I'm hoping that the powers that be follow through.
Speaking of, before we get into the game, I just want to give a quick shout out again to Women Kick Balls for blessing us really with the NWSL coverage. I know we've been shouting out to all of you to head on over to Women Kick Balls for NWSL and U.S. Women's National Team coverage. Well, we have been, head, shoulder, just underwater with Euros in the best way possible. So shout out to Women Kick Balls. What incredible coverage Jackie provides. And we hope everybody continues to follow, sign up for the newsletter, read those articles, because it's just incredible coverage. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Wembley Stadium. What was it? Over 88,000 people.
Yeah, it's a record breaker. It's the biggest crowd for a Euros game final, men or women's, that has ever been.
Not only that, but I also read that so far the top 3 sellouts this year in all of football, men's and women's, have all been on the women's side. And this was number 2. So, I mean, tell me, I've talked to literally everybody I know about what it was like being there, but give us just a quick, maybe in comparison to like a Sheffield, for example, because we've talked about the incredible atmosphere that was Sheffield, but the stadiums are so different. We know what that community's like, but how did that translate into Wembley, that big stadium?
So first off, the sound was deafening. Like, there was just constant noise the entire time, just chanting, cheering, everything. It was just, I've been to Wembley for a few games and a domestic final, and there was nothing quite like that. I don't know if it was because it is, in England terms, the old enemy, England-Germany. That's who we played when we last won a major tournament, which was 56 years ago. Was Germany, and we've always had that sort of footballing rivalry with them. It was quite fun because in previous games we've seen the German supporters were very together, and they had where they couldn't do that this time, so there were like little deposits of German fans around, so you didn't really hear them. It was all very much all about England, and it was just a sea of red and white, and it was just phenomenal.
But the energy, did it translate? Did that special feeling, was that there at the beginning of the game? Because frankly, from TV, it felt like win or bust, basically, for both teams.
Yeah, exactly. Both had a lot on the line. So, for example, there was somebody's record was going to be shattered because under Serena, we haven't lost a game, and Germany have never lost a Euros final. So something had to go based on this game. It felt nervous, but everybody was nervous. Like, the German fans were nervous, the English fans were nervous.
I mean, it looked like a party. So good on the English, because everybody was just drinking beer and partying up until game time, which I respect and I appreciate, and I am so very sad I was not there. But we're going to save kind of like the best for last, because I want to talk, everybody's talking about the implications of it, and I think, actually, not to, toot my own horn, but I think I've a unique perspective on everything that's being said. But we're going to get into that after we talk about the game itself. So, saving the winners for last, let's talk about Germany. Because the way I would describe this game, if I had to pick one word, I would just say physical. And I think a lot of that came from Germany.
Germany were definitely muscling everybody off the ball. I think there was a lot of call for fouls that weren't quite fouls. It was just Germany were bigger and stronger. Everybody was trying to get possession and try and play it possession based in like the first 10 minutes. Then they realised that wasn't going to work. So it just became whoever was biggest, strongest.
See, I don't actually know if I think that happened. It looked frantic in the first 10 minutes, but I think that was a very much like a mentality thing. And we'll come on to England, but I do want to talk about, speaking of mentality, really how do you feel that last minute news, obviously Pop injured herself in warm-ups. How do you feel that last minute news affected Germany? Because it's an interesting one, because they ended up with Schuler, who was slated to be the starter in the first place, started the first game, got COVID, and then Alexandra Pop comes in, scores 1 million goals. That's a stat. It was 1 million goals. And then all of a sudden, the player who was supposed to be the super sub became the starter, and now it's a big blow that she isn't going to be playing. So how do you feel, that affected Germany, or really did it? Do you feel like that affected them?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, losing Pop was more of a media blow than it was for Germany, because the media had been building up who's going to get the golden boot. It's Mead or it's Pop, because they're both playing in the same game and they both can't win it. Sort of thing. So it felt like that. It was more of a media build up. I think Germany have been building very much on the premise that they can slot players in so they have a formation and they have players that will fit into the formation, or they can adjust slightly. I mean, it probably, because of how last minute it was, may have jarred them a little bit. Like, if it had been the day before, then they would have had time to prep and everything else. But the fact that it was so in the moment that they were losing Pop.
I disagree. I think it affected them massively. I think it affected them mentally, obviously. Any kind of change at that last minute. They're in the best case scenario where the next person up is the person who they're very comfortable with, was starting, and that is best case scenario. But we can't discount the fact that most of Germany's goals this tournament came from Alexandra Pop. They lost the person who literally put them through each round, but they struggled to score in this game, and that was one of their big problems. And you can't help but wonder, They lost their biggest goal scorer. Sometimes when there's a big goal scorer, the team starts to rely on that. Perhaps they had started to rely on her to do that. And then when you take her out, it's different.
I disagree, because I don't think they struggled to score because Pop was out. I think they struggled to score because both teams were so defensive. Like, England was struggling to score. Like, it was just each team knew that one goal could nick it. So therefore they were so defensive, and it was more defensive than we've seen both teams be previously, because there's no do-over. When the whistle goes, you've lost. That's it. It's done. So both teams were cagey. Both teams were very not willing to go too far forward unless they knew they had a clear opportunity. Because Germany've been playing the high press all game. We know that. That's how England were going to beat them, was getting them on the high press and get behind their defenders. So I don't think losing Pop was a big thing for why they weren't scoring. I just think both teams were super cagey because it was a final.
But let's talk about what Germany did well. Germany played really well, and there were parts of this game where it certainly did seem like they had it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of that was because of what you just mentioned and how dominant they were in the high press. So let's talk about the high press and what Germany was able to do well and when they controlled the game.
So yeah, the high press really nullified our strikers. Like, we were trying to do what we've been doing all tournament, which is feed the ball to certain players, mainly White, in the first 50 or 60 minutes or so. And they managed to completely nullify her off it. Like, they either pulled her into the offside trap, or they just were much quicker in getting the ball back. Their defensive line was one of the best I've seen all tournament.
Which is saying something, because they've been quite organized the entire tournament. You know, I will say, you know, the back line that you called out and what Emma Hayes called out in the two center backs, that is what ended up being exploited by Ella Toon to put England ahead 1-0 in the first goal of the game. It was Ella Toon running between those two center backs and finding that space. So, you know, one lapse in Germany allowed Ella Toon to get through. I will say that high press, I just absolutely love how Germany implements it. They had England on their back heel. And a high press only works when you're organized. So this is absolutely, obviously, the perfect team to implement such a high press. And I thought they did that so well. We have to talk about the physicality. Do you think that that was part of the game plan for Germany? Like, to how, you know, almost copying, I think, anybody who played England after the Spain game, it looked to me like they were taking a page out of Spain's book and saying, look at how Spain was able to nullify England and stop their possession and stop the flow of the game by being physical. Do you think that was part of Germany's game plan, or do you think that this game just got chippy? It was bitter rivals. It was a final, and you know, the ref was terrible.
Yeah, we'll get onto the ref.
You know, yeah, we'll get onto the ref.
I think it is a mixture of both. I think if they probably would have looked at the Spain game, because, to brag about my team, that is the shakiest we looked all tournament. The Spain game was the sort of chink in the armour we had. And that would be where you would learn where, because that is one of the only goals we conceded all tournament. Like, we conceded 2 goals. One of them was in the final and one was in that Spain game. So I think that's where they were learned. But also, if you look at the difference in players, apart from Millie Bright and Lucy Bronze, most of our players are slight. They're quick. They are that sort of player. They're not built. Whereas the German players are built. They're more fit. They are built to be more physical. And again, we saw a lot of, like, England fans calling for fouls that weren't really fouls. It's just Fran Kirby's little.
That's so interesting that your perspective as the England fan is that they weren't fouls versus my perspective.
Well, some were. Some
quote-unquote
definitely
neutral,
were.
but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was neutral.
Praising Germany at the moment, but I will say that Oberdorf is very lucky she did not get a red.
I was going to say, let's talk about it. Oberdorf, who, frankly, in my opinion, I don't know. I would say Oberdorf and Walsh were obviously the 2 best sixes in this entire tournament. Kira Walsh outplayed Oberdorf this game. I didn't think Oberdorf had a great game. Usually she is able to maintain a lot of possession for Germany. I didn't feel like she was able to do that. Part of her game is that, and part of her game is truly being able to, like, scan the field, read the field, and play physical. And I felt like her entire game, in this match was only the physicality. And she had some nasty tackles. The fact that she walked off that field with only a yellow card is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you saw that also with Rausch. She very much, again, very lucky it was only a yellow, because there was definitely some fouls that we were screaming at the ref.
Let's get into overtime, because I feel like scoreline in regulation, I think it's pretty inaccurate indication of the game. England won some parts, Germany won some parts. I thought Germany looked better in the second half. A little scary for England fans going into overtime because they looked better. England looked tired at the end. However, the difference in extra time, I think it was simply that England's substitutions were better than Germany's substitutions. Tactically and playing-wise, they made very weird subs. Taking Rausch off, the left back, I did not understand. I thought she was playing pretty locked down.
Like McGall, why would you take McGall off, who is the one that has scored and is most likely to score?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Why did you take her off at 90 minutes?
Who wasn't even sitting on a card either.
No, that's the thing.
You know, I understand taking Rausch off maybe because she was sitting on a card. Yeah. So be careful. That's fine. But I agree. I think some of the tactical substitutions maybe were their demise.
Yeah. Schuler at 67 minutes. Like,
mm-hmm. To be fair, I did think Schuler was a bit ineffective in the game. I really did. And, you know, Germany does have a deep bench, but I think that, yeah, I think my main problem is just with Brand. I think I just didn't understand that substitution. And England were looking tired. They were looking so tired, and it was a moment for Germany that I think if they'd made the right subs, or maybe if their subs had brought the right energy, it would have happened differently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I did think we were sitting in the stadium going, not that I want Germany to win, but what is she doing? Like, these substitutions make absolutely no sense. I think everybody was really surprised at Brand coming off. That was the one sub out of all of them that we were like, what are you doing? And at 45 minutes, it was a half-time sub. And I'm like, what? Yeah, it made no sense. Germany's substitutions were so random.
Speaking of Germany's opportunities and chances to score, we've got to talk about that bouncing ball in the box.
Yeah.
And how many times Leah Williamson maybe saved a goal directly off of the goal line. But I know you specifically want to talk about a very specific moment in which the ball hit Leah Williamson's shoulder, I would say, when her arm was directly at her side. There was a VAR check to see if it was a handball. It was in the box. Obviously, if it was, it would have been a penalty kick and changed the course of the entire game. Now, I am not in London, but I hear there's some controversy.
Yeah, so basically anybody who is either not an England fan or was actually fully supporting Germany cried that it didn't get called as a penalty because it was against England, the home nation. And if it had been a German player down the other end, it would have been an instant penalty. Now,
well, that in itself, not to cut you off, because you're like, continue. But I was watching this game being like, does the ref hate England that much?
Exactly.
It seems like a one-sided game.
That's what I'm saying. So without the refereeing, which we will go into for a start. But the reason I think, and there was a German newspaper that has actually put on the headline, stolen from us again, like, people are angry. And I think the reason people are angry is because there's an image where it looks like it hits a square on the arm in an unnatural position. So everybody's saying that it should have been a penalty. However, watching this video, what actually happened was, A, it didn't come off of an opposition player, it came off of one of her own team, and that makes a difference. And B, it hit her in the leg first and bounced up to her shoulder/chest.
Well, I think what matters is that VAR slowed it down, watched it, said, this is not in an unnatural position. and or it hit the like an okay place on her shoulder, it's not a penalty kick. I'm very disappointed, and maybe that was a German newspaper that's like the Daily Mail or something stupid, and just simply not credible. But and I certainly hope that it was, because I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt, because quite frankly, if it wasn't, it's really just in such poor sportsmanship. And I have to just call out, unfortunately, as we're on this, like, I was a little disappointed in the sportsmanship that I did see from Germany, and I think I'm getting a lot of shit for that, because people are gonna be like, why are you like calling out sportsmanship? Like, they can do what they want and share them. Yeah, duh. Like, of course they can. I'm all for showing emotion. I'm all for that. What I'm not for is, like, shoving the ball in Chloe Kelly's chest at the end of the game. Like, I'm not for at all at any point in any sport at any level. I'm not for that. And I thought that Germany didn't really handle the frustration very well at the end of the game. And fine, that happens. But I certainly hope that it's not being pervasive throughout the nation. I don't think it is. I saw that the Germans welcomed the team with a very warm reception when they got back. And after what we saw with Sweden, I mean, that was great to see for Germany, They came in second place. Obviously, it's not what they wanted, but we have to look at their entire tournament. And from the beginning of it, this was a German team that nobody really rated coming in, because they had some terrible losses to teams that they really should have beaten. They were a very young team, and everybody was kind of like, what's going on over there? And they came in and they took this tournament by storm. And for what they're building, I know it's the first loss in the finals for the Euros, but I think this was just an incredible tournament for the Germans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It put them back on the map for people. Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to say it.
It
totally.
put them back on the map for people, because I think after the loss to Denmark in the last Euros, there's been a lot of rebuilding, a lot of thing, and just to make the quick comparison between them and France's rebuilding has been very hit and miss, and like we've said, all tournament you never know which France you're going to get, whereas Germany's has been really consistent. It's been really good. It's got a great game plan. I'm hoping their coach stays on, and that the German official body doesn't do something really stupid and get rid of her just because she came second in this tournament, because I think she's building something beautiful for German football. The fans seem to love her. The fans seem to really love the team that they're getting. And we did it with kids. They can do it with kids. It's literally.
And they almost
did. It was such an exciting. I'm so excited to see more German football, and that goes from the national down. I'm looking forward to see what we're seeing in the Bundesliga now, and further down by that, because I think it's going to be a great time for German football.
Absolutely. And watch out for Germany in World Cup 2023.
Absolutely.
Watch out. Let's go around the world.
So, over to Copa America. Brazil are the winners of this year's Copa America. A narrow win over Colombia. It was just a penalty that separated the two teams in the 39th minute, and that's what clinched them the title.
Ooh, over to the NWSL. As we called out before, Women Kick Balls has been providing amazing NWSL coverage while we have been covering the Euros. There were a lot of high-scoring games this week. We saw a 3-all tie between North Carolina and Washington Spirit. Wowee. San Diego stole a 1-0 win over Chicago, two teams who are having great seasons. And finally, the Houston Dash came from behind to beat Gotham 4-2 to continue the woes of poor Gotham's season. Wow, that hurts.
And now something slightly different for around the world. With the end of the Euros, you're seeing a lot of pleas to keep supporting women's football throughout. However, the focus seems to be on the top tier only. So we're asking you to check out your local club. They may not be in the upper tiers of women's football, but we are officially a pyramid over here in the UK, and every tier needs your support, and you won't go wrong with whichever team you land on.
That's so true. And I think that it's not quite as much of a pyramid here, but obviously if you don't have an NWSL club, maybe you have a USL club or something like that. So check it out online.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
We're here to talk about England. And Allie may or may not get through this without crying.
I was sobbing in the stadium.
Were you sobbing in the stands?
In the stadium.
I wish I had a video.
All of my row of friends were
Give
crying.
us a preview.
We were all crying.
Do it again.
No.
Let me see. Were you talking or were you just doing an ugly cry?
Ugly cry.
Just an
I
ugly
don't think
cry.
I cried as much at my wedding.
Were you singing too? Were you like, sweet Caroline?
No, because it was before they started the music, and literally all my row of friends, we started crying at different points. So like one of my friends, it was when they saw Ellen really emotional. They started crying. Kate held it together until Leah Williamson was on the screen, and then she started crying.
Oh.
And then mine was Fran Kirby, and then it was just...
Oh. Well, I've got to throw out, because I saw this statistic, and I absolutely love it. 80% of all TVs turned on in the UK on Sunday were tuned into the England-Germany European Championship game. That is 80% of all TVs that were turned on. So whatever the other 20% were, I'm not entirely sure what you're doing, but you need to get with the program. Now, I know we want to talk about the game, but we'll get onto that in a second. Because I know we said we're going to do this last, but whatever. We're talking about you crying. We're talking about England. We're talking about seeing Leah Williamson. We're going to talk about how hungover they all looked. This is special. And I know I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. This is 2019 U.S. Women's National Team. This is 1999 U.S. Women's National Team. That is this level of special in like the energy, in what it's doing to the country, in what it is galvanizing in everybody, really. It's special.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I've said it to you personally. I'm getting messages from people who don't watch football, never mind women's football. They don't watch football, and they were watching the game. They're like asking me, like, "Are you there? What's this like? Oh, you must be absolutely living for it." My parents messaged me, and my dad was crying. My dad doesn't like football. He's a rugby man. He doesn't even like football. And my mum's like, "Your dad's getting emotional. Your dad's getting emotional."
I mean, I have to say, for everybody here in the U.S. that was following, the people that were following, we're in on it. And I think a lot of people were really galvanized and got behind the home country and saw what was happening. Somebody said to me when I was over in England, somebody was like, "There's a lot of Americans here." And I was like, yeah, I think we recognize that this is a really special place to be right now. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, because we've seen it before.
Yeah, don't you start that. Don't take our moment for
but
you.
It's kind of true. It's like we see it happening. And I'll also say, like, I want to keep this positive, but I just have to be honest here. Like, I'm supremely disappointed in the lack of coverage that the U.S. provided for, and I know it's the European Championships, and we're not in it, and I don't really care. Like, it should have still been covered as if the U.S. was in it, because it was that important for soccer. And it makes me sad that people in this country missed out on it because ESPN didn't market correctly and tell people that the Euros were happening. They were like, yeah, for those of you who want to watch, like, it's on ESPN too. And it's just not good enough. Like, it's just really not good enough. And I have to say, for all the good that's happening in Europe and England with this, which is amazing, and I love that, I'm disappointed in how little happened here for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Have to just say it.
That is fair.
Gotta say it. Now, I know people want us to talk about the game, but quickly before I mean, while we're talking about this, and we're talking about how big this is for England, how do you feel when the narrative that I'm hearing constantly from England is, now girls should play sports, now girls should play football in PE class, now people can get on board, like, with women's football. Now we can invest, like, for all the little girls watching, you know, all of that narrative that we've heard so much. How does that sound in your ears? How does that sit with you? Are you like, yeah, that's where we are, and it
is a double-edged sword, because part of me is like, no, this is great. You know, this is great because, and I'll start with the negative, then I'll go into positive. So the thing that hurts me most is that there is people that are like a little bit older than me, a little bit younger than me, that are the lost generation in women's football. In the fact that I played football up until I was 11, and then I went to secondary school, which is our equivalent of middle school, high school, and they were like, oh no, girls don't play football. The boys will play football, you will play rounders, or you will play netball. And I'm like, well, I don't want to play those. I haven't got the hand-eye coordination to play those. And there's no choice, because over here, you can't have mixed-sex teams after the age of 11. So there was no football. And I don't want another generation to go through that. I don't, because if that is what you love doing, I used to play with all the boys in the playground outside of regulated, and we had a little tiny tennis ball because that's all we could bring into the playground, and we made our goalposts with our school jumpers, and I was the only girl that played. I was the only one out of all of my friends that played. So I don't want another generation to go through that, because we are a footballing country. There is a reason our song is It's Coming Home, because we are a nation of football lovers. It is our national sport. And I want these little girls to grow up thinking they can be the next Millie Bright, they can be the next Rach Daly or, you know, Chloe Kelly, and have the support and the process to do that. I don't know if we'll get it done as quickly as everybody's saying that we will. And I have another feeling it's going to be another few years and a few more girls are going to miss out before we can get there.
Quite a few. I mean, like, look, we're gonna talk about Chloe Kelly's goal, but that goal and that celebration, which I have to think of her taking her shirt off, I have to think was a premeditated ode and tip of the cap to Brandi Chastain, and you can't help but get chills in thinking of the similarities between that 1999 U.S. Women's National Team and this 2022 European champions of the Lionesses, and what they have done for the future of the country, really, because that's what it is. And it breaks my heart that that's the comparison, that 1999, 23 years ago, that is one of my first soccer memories watching that game. That is how long ago it was. Like, that's the comparison to where England is. And I think maybe it's just shocking to some people over here in the U.S., not that we're any better in any way. Like, we have our own trials and barriers and road bumps and everything like that. But I think it's just surprising to hear, like you just spoke about, and in some of the stats that you hear on TV about how 60% of the schools in England, I think it was 60% allow girls to play football in PE class. And the fact that it's not 100% is freaking ridiculous. Like, it makes me sad. I think that we're just now with the narrative for England. And it's always like this, I feel like. It's always a double-edged, not even a double-edged sword. It's always like, I'm so happy for the progress, and I'm so brokenhearted that this is where we are still. And that's kind of how I feel when I hear the narrative spoken. And I had to mute the TV at the end of the day because I just couldn't hear anybody else say, like, and now you girls can go play football in PE. Because I was like, fucking come on. Like, are you for real? We're past that. Let's move past that and let's just watch football in a sold-out Wembley Stadium, enjoy it, and then follow their Instagram stories and watch them be drunk and hungover the next day, because that's frankly what we all want to do. And let's just talk about that. And let's just do that. Let's just talk about that. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about their Instagram stories. First 20 minutes. How were you in the stadium? How were the nerves? What was your impression of how England came out? Because England has usually come out on the front foot, with the exception of the Sweden game. How'd they come out for you in this game?
I think they came out on the front foot. I mean, it was a very nervy 10 minutes, but I think we settled and we were the ones with the most possession. We were in the German half more than we were in our own half. We were on top of it. We had the good set pieces and things like that. I think Beth Mead and Lauren Hemp were doing Beth Mead and Lauren Hemp things. The change was down to the officials, because basically after Georgia Stanway and Ellen White got pathetic yellow cards, they were pathetic.
I actually think Stanway's yellow card was deserving. And I will say that when it first happened, I was like, that's a weak card. And I saw the replay and I was like, ooh, that's a Stanway
Was
yellow
it Stanway
right there.
special?
Trademark it.
Okay, Stanway special. Okay, from our perspective, they seemed like...
The Ellen White was weak, nothing.
But it made England cagey and it made them agitated. And as I will credit my other half says, we don't play well when we think it's against us. If we think we're being attacked and we're being like the official is against us, we get sloppy, we get agitated, we don't play in a good way. It's just a lot of anger. And I think that's where the first half changed for me, was especially because we saw similar fouls from German players and they got a talking to, or it got waved on.
That was what was frustrating. I do think that as frustrating as it was, England handled it pretty well. And halftime came at a good time. Now, my impression coming out of halftime, England looked slow to me and Germany was dominating the first 10 minutes. And I was thinking we cannot get these 60th, 65-minute subs in soon enough.
Exactly. No, exactly. It was very sluggish and you thought, we've seen Germany come back second halves so many times.
Germany was high pressing. Basically what was happening was England was having to play with their back line in Keira Walsh, and then Germany would get the ball, defend again for England, and then we're going to do that all over again. And there was nothing, England couldn't develop anything. Yeah.
I was surprised that Serena didn't make any changes at halftime. I'm surprised that she waited.
It's not her style.
She does though, occasionally, especially with Fran coming back to full fitness. You do see that she'll make a tactical sub at 45 minutes. So I was surprised that she hadn't. I won't name the player because I want this to be a positive thing, but there was one player that we were like, why has she not come off? Why have we not been given the other player that we want in this position?
England won this game and won this tournament because of Sarita Wegman and how perfectly she managed every game. And I think that every move she made in this game was chef's kiss, including that one.
No, we'll disagree on that one.
Now,
because
we were all waiting for it. Tooney and Russo, the dynamic little duo, and all of their little kid photos from when they were tiny and friends have been popping up all over my page, and they're the cutest friends, and they came on, and everybody was like, that's what we needed. Here we go.
Except, can I just say, Tooney has got a really unfortunate name because when it's mass shouted, it sounds like we're booing her.
No, but I like when people have names like that because everybody knows that you're not, you know?
But it does. It just sounds like we're booing her because it's Tooney. Yeah.
So as always, Tooney and Russo come on and really give the spark that's needed. And I will say Russo was a little...
I was going to say more Tooney than Russo. More Tooney than Russo.
Yes, in terms of like time on the ball. But I think in terms of impact on the field, and I mean, obviously Tooney because she scored that goal. But I just mean like energy and impact and what England needed, they both needed to be there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wouldn't have not taken Russo on, but...
And let's talk about that goal.
And to talk about that goal, we have to talk about my star of the entire tournament, Keira Walsh.
We got to.
Keira Walsh.
Finally, Keira Walsh gets her, like, coming out moment on the international stage. Because let me tell you, I don't know how this has been, like, the best kept secret of English football is Keira Walsh. And she is... stunning, like deserving player of the match, player of the tournament, totally.
Exactly, 100%. She is that quiet engine in midfield that you don't notice what she does until she's not there doing it. And that absolute beauty of a pass, the fact that it came from Bronzy to her and it was just weighted so perfectly for Tooney to get on the end of.
Yes.
That no German defender was getting to Tooney. Nope. German defender. We carved them
But
up.
I mean, what a cheeky finish. What a cheeky finish. I was screaming. I was like, that was naughty. That was so dirty.
Though I did love that Tooney, unimpressed today, was like, I didn't celebrate for ages because it took forever to go in the goal.
I know. She was like, well, it took about 10 minutes to go in the net.
But that and the stadium erupted. Like,
what moments these two young 20-year-olds have had on the biggest stage. Russo in the last game, Tooney in this game, and the composure that they both show in front of the net is just incredible. Like, the best in the game haven't shown that type of composure in front of the net, and in it, I mean, what a beautiful moment. Germany kind of takes the wind out of England's sails after that pretty quickly. And it didn't look great, as we said, going into extra time for England. What was the feeling in the stadium?
Well, and again, if this doesn't give you an idea of what the British mentality is when it comes to us in tournaments, just before it went into extra time, Serena took off Georgia Stanway and put on Jill Scott. Now, we all love Jill Scott. Jill Scott, national treasure, national icon. However, all of us went, we have tempted fate now because we haven't got a penalty taker if it goes to penalties.
I didn't understand that substitution when it happened, with the exception of the fact that Stanway had a yellow. And that was my justification for it.
I think it was because she was getting aggy. She was getting very agitated.
However, as only Serena can do, it was so perfect. And a slow England team that extra time. They looked so tired. Yes. Needed Jill Scott on that field
to rev them up,
to go into that tackle hard, stand up, get in a German player's face, and you can tell from the lip reading she said something like fuck. Yeah.
Shall I say it?
Because it
might work better in my accent.
Yeah, go ahead. It'll sound better with an English accent
so
anyways.
You can see it, and we've watched that clip so many times over here because it's so funny. So she's gone in for a hard tackle with German player. German player's knocked her, basically. And she's just gone, fuck off, you fucking prick. And that's just become like our motto now. It's like...
And then, to be fair, it was dirty what happened.
It was dirty, but then you see the ref came over and they shook hands and then went off again.
Sure, but that's exactly what England needed because England looked so tired. Yeah. And Jill Scott was just running and playing hard and playing defense. And
it's why
exactly
we
what
love
was
her.
Needed.
It's why she is a national treasure, is Jill Scott.
It was incredible. And then let's talk about it. The moment that was Miss Chloe Kelly. What a pleasure to be able to take off Lauren Hemp and Beth Mead and put on Chloe Kelly. I mean, let's just take a moment and realize that Chloe Kelly came on as a sub. Most teams, that's not happening. She's starting.
Yep. And also, can we also say that literally about 18 months ago was when she did her ACL in, and she had been out, and she was this, we're talking the tiniest close that she wasn't going to get back into this England squad because she only really came back to full fitness 2 games from the end of last season, like the end of this season. So, and the beauty of that, and we didn't know it'd gone in. It was one of those things because we were the other side of the stadium when it went in. So we saw like that there was something going on in the box, and then suddenly it boomed goal, and then it was like, wait, is that going to count? And then as soon as the ref pointed to the middle spot, we were like just, it was delayed joy.
It was so fun on TV too because the close-up was on Chloe Kelly. And in the beginning of the celebration, she went to go take her shirt off and was like halfway off. And then she kind of like stopped, and everybody in that stadium, it was the most English thing ever, maybe. Everybody in that stadium was like, wait a second, make sure it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Do you know how many times we've been called for whatever, but there was no VAR check, there was nothing. And it went, so it goes in at, let's see, so it's 110 minutes.
Yeah. And Leah Williamson was speaking, I think today, it was I don't care. It was one of the interviews. And Leah Williamson was saying, she was talking about how emotional and nervy she was at the end of the game. And she was like, yeah, just keep that ball in that corner. Like, you all are doing great. You don't need me up there. But she said that at 115, so obviously they play 120. She was like, I forgot how many minutes we were playing. I thought we were playing 115. I started yelling at the referee, like, blow the whistle. Like, when
everybody thought it was 115.
And I guess Alex Greenwood was like, Leah, calm down. She was like, oh yeah, like we got another 5 to go. if that doesn't say how slowly those minutes ticked by.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
I don't know what
there was
does.
like Mary got a few saves in those last 5 minutes, and we were like, hang on to that ball. You take a nap. You just hold on to that ball and do your frog pose. Why you just keep doing that, Mary?
It did seem that England was having a good time keeping the ball in that corner. Like, maybe Chloe Kelly was just having literally the best day of her life, but she had just like a smile on her face when the German player like shoved the ball in her stomach, and fair play, like, you know, you've gotten them when they're playing like that. And England closed out this game very, very well.
And it has to also be said that was Chloe Kelly's first official goal for England, because her second one got put down as her first one got put down as an own goal, so she didn't get credited it. So this is her first credited England international goal, and you've just won us the Euros. Like,
I think it's safe to say that is the best first goal anybody could ever score for their country ever in the history of football, period, the end. Okay, so England take it. The crowd erupted. It looked like a beautiful place to be.
We didn't leave for an hour. So the match ended at like 7:15 or something like that, and we didn't leave. We just didn't leave. And we're singing, beautiful. and you see the players, like, so we obviously stayed for like the trophy lift, which, can I also say, shout out to Leah Williamson, that after she did it, she then gave the trophy to the two longest serving members of the England squad, Jill Scott and Ellen White, so they could have their moment. But literally, they're all dancing around the pitch, and like Ellen's leading us all to sing Sweet Caroline and Three Lions, and just, it was an absolute party. It was absolute scenes.
It was so cute to watch, and like some of them just sliding along the grass, and it was funny to watch Mary Earps go try to slide on her knees, and like having never really done that before, it didn't work. And this team like captivated the hearts of everybody, not just with how they play, but because they do genuinely seem to love each other and love being with each other. And that's why we also want to watch all of their Instagram stories and see them just get hammered and party and have the best time ever. And what a team to watch. What a special squad this was.
It was. And I said to one of my friends, I said, I now know what Sarah feels like.
You're welcome. Isn't it beautiful?
It's a great thing, because you were telling us at the beginning of this podcast, with our series for the Euros, being like, I don't know, England might fail at the final because they haven't had that winning moment. Like, and that might be another team might able to grab it. And it's like, we've had that now. 56 years since we won a major tournament, and it's addictive. And I love what Lucy Braun said. There was a parade this morning. Obviously, we're recording this on Monday. Everybody's there with their big hungover glasses. Georgia Stanway looks like she might as well be wearing goggles for skiing. But Lucy Braun's basically just like was asked about it and was like, well, you know, we got this trophy and there's one more we can get our hands on next year. Exactly.
And I love to hear that from them. I freaking love hearing that.
If that's not going to push us on, and like, I had this conversation with my parents. My mum went, what was the difference? Because she sat with me through the World Cup and the Olympics. She goes, what was the difference? And I'm like, having a manager that actually cares about the women's game.
There's a really funny tweet. I retweeted it. Is somebody wrote, imagine if Phil Neville was alive to see this.
Yeah, but it's like having a manager that actually cares about the game, and it's not a stepping stone, and they all seem to really love her and she loves them. I think one of my favourite quotes of the entire thing was, yes, it was a close game, but we won, so who cares?
Yep, I love it. I love it. And to just share how far gone I got and how deep into this I became, I am now a proud owner of a pair of England football shorts. Yeah. Congratulations, Allie. Allie's crying right now.
Yeah.
Tears streaming down their face. And that is the conclusion of our Euros coverage, everybody. That's wild. We did it. What a tournament.
We did it. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, but we've got some fun stuff lined up. Mm-hmm. We're going to get that in the can and share that all with you. But I think both of us are taking a well-earned rest.
a little bit, and then we'll be back to continue to cover the NWSL as it heads towards the end of the season, to cover the WSL as it starts again. So we will be back. Thank you, everybody, for listening along. What a Euros.
What a tournament.
Should we sing everybody out?
With what? What do you want to sing us?
You choose. Do you want to sing Beth Mead's on Fire or It's Coming Home?
I think we should do Beth Mead's on Fire. Beth Mead's on fire. Yeah. Your defense is terrified.
Beth Mead's on fire. Your defense is terrified. Beth Mead's on fire.
Mito!
Thanks, everybody, for the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Bye.